I was originally going to delve into a big-ass rant on the co-creator of this series, Salinger, and how I think his ego is the size of the Super Dragon Balls and all this crap. But to be honest, it's not worth it, because this shit has been dragged out for so long, and it's so boring to read, that it slips into the back of my mind for months, and I just forget about this series until Salinger and his team do something fucking stupid again, and then I remember it for a couple of days, and then it slips back into irrelevance until Salinger does something stupid again, and the cycle repeats. So what is this shit about, and why does it keep pissing me off? Let's dive in, and I'll explain why. So, 20 years after the Boo Saga, 10 years after End of Z, some aliens pop into the Dragon Ball verse and are like, yo, we held the tournament with fighters from 20 different universes, want to join? And they do, and we get to see a tournament with fighters from 19 other universes. Years and years before the multiverse was even introduced into the franchise by Toriyama himself. Rest in peace. Okay, that's an interesting premise with, honestly, a lot of ideas. So what do we got for these universes? A verse in which see Broly won. Okay, that's kind of weak, but hey, maybe the other universes have something. Universe where Goku didn't hit his head and joined Vegeta's squad. Okay, the evil Goku concept has been done multiple times even before the comic, but hey, we do have other universes. What's next? A universe where Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold won. So just that Budokai 1 would have made into a verse. Are there any verses that are unique and just don't have the events of Dragon Ball go the same except for one tiny twist that changes everything? Yes, actually. 4 out of 20 universes. And how many of those 4 verses have interesting characters that aren't just super strong? 0. Wow. Great! Fantastic! Fuck, this is sad.
Oh, but isn't it cool to see a Broly that won? Or a Cell that killed Gohan?
It would be, but question... how many of them are all that different from their original versions, minus living longer and, of course, being stronger?
Well...
And that's the problem I have with this premise of the alternate universes consisting mostly of characters with slight tweaks to the timeline, like a villain winning. Most of them stayed the same as they did in the original manga/anime, but they got to live a little longer and, of course, are fucking strong. Honestly, that's so fucking boring to me, because at that point, why not just host a tournament where our heroes fight characters from their past, but they're given a spell that amps them up to current cast level, to not make it a fucking slaughter for the past characters. Because frankly, you're not really doing anything different or interesting with these characters other than having them win and live longer than they did in canon. What's changed with Cell winning? Nothing, except for the fact that Earth is fucking dead, basically. Hell, even when this story initially came out, most of these universes' origins weren't even original, disregarding fan-made stories. Frieza winning is just taken from Budokai 1's What If, like I explained earlier. Cell winning is taken from literally so many games that you could just pick and choose which one didn't work here. Goku being evil was done not only with Turles, but also to an extent Vegeta's squad, because the 3 of them represent what Goku could have been if he didn't hit his head. A cowardly weakling, a brute that's a dumbass, or a strong-ass soldier with an ego bigger than the Super Dragon Balls. And Broly winning has been done so many times, even before this comic came out, so I don't care. Point is, for such an interesting premise, holy fuck did the creators not do anything interesting with this. And then there's the 4 universes I talked about that had nothing really to do with Dragon Ball. Are those interesting or good in my eyes to redeem this concept? No. Universe 2 is just Akira Toriyama's gag series dumped into one universe. Well, okay, there's also Chrono Trigger and some of his other stuff introduced, but honestly, I don't care, and I'd frankly rather read those / play those instead, because at least they know how to tell a good story, or at least make me laugh. Universe 5 has one fighter who's about as deep as a puddle, and is about as interesting as tap water. Universe 15 is a pregnant woman who gives birth 2,000 pages into the comics run, yes, seriously, and her son ages quickly and then gets foddered by fucking Yamcha of all characters. And then we have Universe 19, which is largely composed of original characters who are boring as fuck. Basically, I have little to no reason to give a fuck about anybody in this story, because they're all flat as fuck and don't offer much to make me care about their fate in the story. Well, if you read their backstories, you care about them, and while I get that, although I do find reading material outside of this tournament dumb, since some of this info could just be given in the main goddamn story, a lot of these backstories don't offer a lot of intrigue / insight into these characters, other than just showcasing how they defeated / took over shit. Oh, Gas merged with a bunch of Namekians and killed Frieza? Okay, then what? Then beat up some bad guys and that's about it. Cool, I don't care. Goku and Raditz killed everyone on Earth and then left to do intergalactic killing? Boring. Vegeta and Goku stayed fused and birthed the kid that somehow can't be controlled/stable. That might work as an interesting dynamic if the story was consistent with that, and also didn't paint Vegeta as an abusive piece of shit that threatened to kill his daughter, painting him as drastically out of character. I know, a dad doesn't like another dad abusing his own flesh and blood. Wait till I tell you about how I found a fork in the kitchen. And speaking of flesh and blood, I should probably talk about Multiverse's most controversial character, Rob Reefs of Universe 16. Except I'm not going to do that, because she's not really a character. She's a blank slate made by the author to go and beat up strong people and flex to the readers about how uber special awesome she is at such a young age. She's a boring fucking character to me, so why should I care when she goes Majin and kills off some of the cast for 5 fucking minutes before they get revived? Why should I feel sorry for her when she breaks down after coming to her senses? Because she's strong? Because she came from Vegito? Because she's struggling? Sorry, Multiverse, you have given me little to no reason to care about this character because you spent most of her time showcasing how uber special awesome she is, while also flanderizing/writing other characters completely out of character to achieve it. And speaking of fucking up Dragon Ball, how about that final match of the tournament where 21 in Roman numerals kills Goku in Timu Instinct by tearing through his heart? So, funny thing, this position, it would kill someone as that's where the heart is. The punchline is, Goku's heart and by extension Saiyan heart are not located there. It's closer to where his left breast is, and this is consistent across various Dragon Ball series, including Super. I would have expected the fan/creator of this story to remember a detail like that, especially because it's an important factor to 21 winning the match. That also leads into one of my big issues with Multiverse. Its pacing is fucking horrendous. As stated previously, this was released in 2008. This manga has gone on for over 15 years, and yet it still hadn't even finished the tournament at this point. It only finished in 2025, and it's still going. So why was that? Was it because we were only getting a few pages a year? Were we getting a hiatus as long as Hunter x Hunter? No. It was because the author continuously, throughout the years, paused the tournament to release chapters focused on the backstories of multiple universes, some more than others. In fact, out of all 107 chapters this webcomic got since 2008 to 2025, 53 focus on the tournament. The rest are focused on the backstories of the other universes. Only 50% of the tournament is actually focused on the fucking tournament. And considering how most of these universes barely change up any of the characters from their original selves in terms of personality and like, being the strongest and living longer than the canon, a lot of these backstory chapters just feel like a fucking slog to read through because it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. So it's no wonder this shit went on for so long. The author was taking on so many side quests that they treated the main quest as a fucking afterthought. And it's still not done yet, because it's still going, just that there's no tournament anymore. At this point, Toyotaro could pass away in his 80s, and this webcomic would still be going on through AI or some shit. Hell, maybe we'll get GTA 6 before Multiverse is finally fucking over. 2 GTA games would have come out in the time it took for this fucking webcomic to finish. Holy shit! So, okay. The pacing sucks ass, the characters suck ass, and the premise isn't all that great. Are the fights at least good? Yes, if you like Timu versions of already existing fights from Dragon Ball. God fucking damn it! For example, the Bardock vs. King Cold fight is a much less interesting version of the Goku vs. Frieza fight back on Namek. Goku vs. Vegeta uses tracing because of fucking course it has that. Vegeta vs. Trunks is just an extended version of that fight from the Cell Saga, etc. This is fucking boring to me. Holy shit, what the fuck? So is there anything that I liked from this series? Well, yes. But even that has an asterisk behind it. The art can be pretty good at points, and some of the full-page spreads look genuinely fantastic. So what's with the asterisk then? Well, that's because this series does not have a consistent artist or art style behind it. It has a constantly rotating team over the course of the series run, and they range from fantastic to absolutely atrocious. And because it constantly rotates, you have no idea what you're getting for art quality until the new chapter comes out and you read the first page. If it's great, that's great. If not, you gotta deal with it for about 2 to 3 months because they only release 3 times a week. Some fans may be familiar with the infamous BoJack chapter, and it's, honestly pretty bad art. But this wasn't even an isolated incident with the inconsistent art style of the series. Chapter 60 suffers from this, 62 to a lesser extent, 78 doesn't even look like the art style of Dragon Ball and feels like it's trying to replicate Kingdom Come's art style, if anything. 85's, oh fuck, it's that artist from 60 again? And it still doesn't look all that great? God damn it! 97 also looks drastically different from the typical art style, and 99 is also drastically different from the usual Dragon Ball art style we see in this comic. So even if the art looks really damn good at points, it's absolutely not consistent in terms of its art style. So I hope you like inconsistent art as the comic goes on, because otherwise, it's gonna be a visual fucking nightmare. But is this a spite work? No. The fact this team went above and beyond to make heavily requested fights fans have wanted for years into the comic, on top of other franchises being included that Toriyama made over the course of his life as a mangaka, tells me that these individuals do love this franchise, and wanted to have fun giving their take on Dragon Ball, even if I think its execution abso-fucking-lutely sucks ass. Like so many projects I talked about here already, this is more so a passion project that fumbled heavily when the rubber hit the road, than a project being made out of spite. I hate this series, and I think it's one of the worst Dragon Ball fan-made projects I have ever read. But I can still tell that this is made with love and not spite, so while I may not enjoy it, I can understand why other people do. And frankly, more power to those people. As for me, the DBM cycle continues, as I'm gonna forget about this series, and then I'll get reminded of its existence when the comic does something stupid again.